The Galactic Council met on the third moon of Visari. It had met there for 9,000 years. The chamber was carved from white stone, round, with seats rising in tall rings. Each ring held a different species. The high ring held the oldest races, the ones who had ruled space when most others were still learning to use fire. The low rings held the young races, the ones who had only just left their home worlds. On this day, the chamber was full. Every seat was taken. The council had come together to talk about trade routes near the outer dark, the cold edge of known space where few ships went. It was a boring meeting. Most of them were. Speaker Velen of the Tarn stood at the center. He was old, even for a Tarn, and his skin had gone gray with age. He spoke about tax rates on mineral ships. He spoke about who owned which empty rock. He spoke in a flat voice that put half the chamber to sleep. No one looked up when the message came in. It arrived on the deep scanners first, a signal from the edge, something moving toward Visari space. The scanner room, far below the chamber, picked it up and marked it as a passing rock. The young officer on duty did not even raise her head. Then the rock changed course. Rocks did not change course. The officer sat up. She tapped her screen. She looked again. The object had turned. It was not falling through space by chance. It was steering. It was coming straight for them, fast, faster than any ship she had ever tracked. She called her commander. Her commander called his. By the time the warning reached the high ring, the object was inside the outer line, past the watch posts, past the warning buoys that should have stopped any ship cold. None of them had fired. None of them had even pinged. Speaker Velen was still talking about taxes when the chamber lights flickered. He stopped. He frowned. The lights had never done that. The moon's power came from a star core buried deep below, and it had not failed in 9,000 years. "What was that?" he said. A voice answered from the wall speakers. It was the voice of the scanner chief, and it was shaking. "Speaker, we have a contact, inner space. It is not one of ours." The chamber went quiet. Then it filled with noise. 100 voices at once, asking, shouting, demanding. Velen raised a thin hand. The noise dropped. "Show me," he said. The great screen behind him came to life. The whole chamber turned to look. And then the chamber went silent again. But this was a different silence. The first one had been surprise. This one was fear. On the screen was a ship. It was not like their ships. Their ships were smooth and curved, built for beauty as much as use, polished until they shone. The oldest races thought a ship should look like art. This ship looked like a weapon. It was huge. The size made no sense at first. The scanner kept changing its numbers as if it could not believe what it saw. The ship was longer than a city. It was longer than some small moons. It was gray and black and dull, with no shine at all, covered in plates of thick metal that overlapped like the scales of some old beast. Along its sides ran rows of dark openings, and even a child could guess what those openings were for. It was a warship. There was no other word. And it was coming toward them with no fear at all. In the high ring, an Ulu named Joss leaned forward. The Ulu were the strongest race in the council. Their fleets had ended 3 great wars. They did not bow to anyone. Joss did not look afraid. He looked annoyed. "Who are these people?" he said. "Why do they come into our space with such a thing? Send them a warning, tell them to stop." A junior officer worked the controls. The warning went out on every channel in every common tongue of the council. "Stop. You are in council space. Stop or be fired upon." The ship did not stop. It did not slow. It did not answer. Joss stood up now. He was tall and his anger filled the room. "Then fire," he said. "Show them what it means to ignore the council." Velen lifted his hand again. "Wait," he said. "We do not know who they are. We do not know what that ship can do. Look at its size. Look at how it passed our outer line. We must be careful." "Careful," Joss said. We are the council, we do not hide from a single ship. But even as he spoke, the scanner chief's voice came again, and now it was worse than shaking. Speaker, the ship is opening a channel. They wish to speak. The chamber held its breath. Put it through, Velen said. A new image came onto the screen beside the ship. The chamber leaned in to see what kind of creature had built such a thing. They expected something terrible, something with teeth or claws or cold eyes, something to match the warship. What they saw was small. A single being stood in a plain gray room. It had 2 arms and 2 legs and 1 head like many races did. Its skin was a soft brown color. It had short dark hair on its head and a strange covering of cloth over its body. It was not large. It was not armored. It carried no weapon that they could see. It looked, the High Ring thought, almost weak. The being looked into the screen. It looked at all of them, at the rings and the seats and the strange faces, and it did not flinch. It did not bow. It simply waited calm until the chamber went still. Then it spoke. The translators in the wall caught the sounds and turned them into the common tongue, half a beat behind. My name is Captain Sarah Akaffer, the being said. I command the ship you are looking at. We come from a world called Earth. We are the people who live there. We call ourselves humans. The word meant nothing to anyone in the chamber. No race called the humans was on any list. No world called Earth was on any map. The outer dark was wide and most of it was not yet charted, but a race with a ship like that should have been known. A race like that should have left marks, should have been heard, should have been feared long before this day. But there was nothing. They had come from nowhere. Velen found his voice. Captain Akaffer, he said, I am Speaker Velen of the Galactic Council. You are in our space. You have passed our defenses without stopping. We do not know you. Why have you come? The human's face changed in a small way. Later, those who watched would learn that this change was called a smile. They did not know it yet. It looked like a baring of teeth, and a few in the low rings drew back. We have come to talk, Captain Akaffer said. Only to talk. We mean you no harm today. The word today sat in the room like a stone. Joss spoke before Velen could stop him. You bring a war machine to our doorstep and you say you mean no harm. Do you take us for fools? That ship is built to kill. We can see it. Do not lie to us. The human turned her eyes to Joss. She studied him for a moment, the way one studies a thing one has not seen before. You are right, she said. It is built to kill. It is the largest warship my people have ever made. I will not pretend otherwise. The honesty silenced even Joss for a beat. Then why bring it here, Velen said slowly, if you come in peace? Captain Akaffer was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was even, almost gentle, and somehow that made it worse. Because we have learned something about meeting new people, she said. We have learned that when you come weak, you are not heard. We have learned that the strong make the rules and the weak follow them. We did not want to come weak, so we came as we are. She let the words settle. We are not asking to join your council, she went on. We are not asking for your trade. We are asking only one thing. We are asking that you leave us alone. Earth is ours. The space around it is ours. We have marked our borders. I am here to give you the map so there is no mistake. Stay out of our space and we will stay out of yours. That is all. The chamber broke into noise again. This time Velen did not raise his hand. He let them shout. He was thinking. A race no one had ever heard of. A ship larger than anything the council could build. A captain who spoke of borders as if she already owned the stars. And under it all, a cold and simple message that frightened him more than any threat. We do not need you. We do not fear you. Leave us alone. In 9,000 years, no one had ever spoken to the council like that. Joss was on his feet again. We will not be ordered about by strangers, he shouted. One ship. There is one ship. The Ulu fleet alone has 10,000. Let her draw her little maps. We will draw our own. Sit down, Velen said. His voice was tired, but it carried. You see one ship, Joss. You do not see the fleet behind it. No race builds a thing like that and builds only one. Use your head. Joss did not sit, but he did not speak again either. Velen turned back to the screen, to the small, calm human who had not moved through all the shouting. You ask us to trust you, he said. Yet you say asterisk today you mean no harm. What of tomorrow? Captain Akefer met his eyes through the screen. Tomorrow depends on you, she said. We did not come to make war, we have no wish for it. But we have fought wars before on our own world against our own kind, and we are very good at them. We learned in the hardest school there is. If you leave us in peace, you will never see another human ship as long as you live. If you do not. She stopped. She did not finish the threat. She did not need to. The unfinished words were louder than any ending could have been. The High Ring understood all at once what they were dealing with, not a stronger race. They had met stronger races, not a crueler one. They had met those too. They were dealing with a race that had grown up fighting, that had spent its whole short history at each other's throats, killing and surviving and learning, while the old races grew soft and slow and forgot what war even felt like. The humans had not forgotten. The humans had never been allowed to. And now they had come out into the stars, hard and scarred and ready, and they were politely asking to be left alone. Velen felt very old. How long, he said quietly, have your people known about us? The human's strange smile returned, just a little. Longer than you have known about us, she said. We have been listening for a very long time, speaker. We heard your ships talk. We learned your tongues. We watched you draw your maps and sign your treaties and divide up the dark between you. We watched and we waited and we built. She gestured, a small motion of one hand, and the screen split. Beside her face, a map of the outer dark appeared. The Council's map. Their own borders, their own routes, all of it laid out exactly as it truly was. The chamber stared. You see, she said softly, we already know you. We know where your worlds are. We know how your ships move. We know your strong places and your weak ones. We have known for a long time. She let the map fade. You did not know us at all. Not until an hour ago. Think on what that means. No one spoke. Even Joss had gone still. It meant the humans had watched them in the dark for years, learning everything, while the Council had not so much as guessed they existed. It meant the warship in orbit was not a wild gamble but a planned move, made by a people who had studied them the way a hunter studies prey before the kill. It meant every word the captain spoke had been chosen long before she spoke it. It meant they were not in control of this moment. They had never been in control of it. Velen lowered himself slowly back into his seat. His old bones ached. He looked at the small human on the screen, and he understood that the meeting that had begun as a talk about taxes had become the most important meeting in the history of his people. We will need time, he said at last, time to talk among ourselves, to consider your words. Of course, Captain Akefer said. Take your time, we are patient, we will wait in orbit. The reminder that the warship would stay, hanging over their moon like a blade, was not lost on anyone. One more thing, speaker, the human added, just as Velen reached to close the channel. Yes. You sent us a warning earlier, she said. You told us to stop or be fired upon. She paused. Your weapons did fire, all of them. Every gun on every watch post along your outer line. They fired the moment we crossed. The chamber went cold. The scanner chief's voice came in, small and sick. She is telling the truth, speaker. The logs show it. The outer guns all fired. We did not know. The readings came back clean and we thought they had not. They fired, Captain Akefer agreed. And nothing happened. Your weapons struck my ship and my ship did not feel them. Not one. I did not tell you this to frighten you. I told you because I want you to understand the choice in front of you clearly with no false hope. When you talk among yourselves, do not talk about whether you can win. You cannot. Talk only about whether you wish to live in peace. She gave a small nod, almost polite. We will speak again soon, Speaker Velen. I hope you choose wisely, for both our peoples. The screen went dark. The chamber that had been silent so many times that day was silent once more. But now it was the deepest silence of all. The silence of people who had just learned, all at once, that everything they believed about themselves was wrong. They were not the strong ones. They had only thought they were, because no one stronger had ever come to test them. Now someone had. And the someone was small and brown and calm, and came from a world they had never heard of, and commanded a ship their greatest guns could not scratch. High in his seat, Speaker Velen closed his eyes. Outside, far above the white stone moon, the Titan-class warship turned slowly in the dark, patient as death, and waited for the Council to make up its mind. The Council did not sleep that night. There was no night truly on the third moon of Visari. The white stone glowed soft and even, lit from within, the same in every hour. But the races had brought their own habits with them, and most of them rested when their home worlds rested. On this day, none of them rested at all. They met in smaller rooms. They argued in the halls. They sent fast messages to their own worlds, to their own fleets, to their own leaders far away. Word of the human ship spread through Council space faster than any ship could fly, jumping from station to station, world to world, until 1,000 worlds knew that something had come out of the dark and frightened the High Ring into silence. In a small round room off the main chamber, the inner circle met. These were the 7 oldest and strongest voices. Speaker Velen sat among them. Jas of the Ulu sat across from him, still angry, still red around the eyes. The others sat between, watching the two of them the way one watches a fire near dry grass. We must strike first, Jas said. While there is only one ship, if we wait more will come. We all heard her. No race builds a thing like that and builds only one, Velen's own words, so let us not wait for the rest. Strike with what? Said Myra of the Sen. The Sen were thinkers, builders, makers of fine machines. Myra's people had designed half the weapons the Council used. You heard the captain, our outer guns fired, all of them. They did nothing. I have read the logs myself. The strikes landed clean. The ship did not even change course. Whatever shields it carries, we cannot break them, not with what we have. Then we build something better, Jas said. In how long? Myra asked. A year, 10. That ship is in orbit now asterisk. If we move against it and fail, we hand them a reason to do what they are clearly able to do. You wish to gamble every world we have on a weapon we have not yet built. Jas slammed a fist on the table. So we do nothing. We let strangers draw lines through our space and tell us where we may and may not go. They did not draw lines through our space, Velen said quietly. The room turned to him. Listen to what she said. She did not ask for our worlds. She did not ask for our trade routes. She did not even ask to sit in this chamber. She asked for one thing, her own world and the space around it. She asked us to stay out of a corner of the dark we did not even know was claimed. He spread his thin hands. She asked us to leave her people alone. That is all. And you believe her, Jas said. I believe, Velen said, that a race who could destroy us and chooses instead to ask politely for a little quiet is not a race in a hurry to make war. If they wanted our worlds, Jas, we would already be fighting for them. They do not want our worlds. They want to be left alone. We can give them that. It costs us nothing but our pride. Pride is not nothing, Jas said. No, Velen agreed, but it is cheaper than blood. Myra leaned forward. There is a thing that troubles me more than the ship, she said. More than the guns, it is the watching. She told us they listened to us for years, learned our tongues, mapped our space. We never knew, think on that. A whole race growing, building, planning right at the edge of our sight, and not one of our watch posts ever caught a whisper of them. She looked around the table. How did they hide so well, and what else are they hiding now? No one had an answer. In the silence, a soft chime sounded. A messenger entered, a young Tarn bowing low. "Forgive me," the messenger said. "Speaker, there is news from the outer dark, from the watch posts on the far line." "Speak," Velen said. The young Tarn swallowed. "More contacts," he said. "Not one ship now, many. The far watch posts are lighting up one after another. Ships are crossing the line. Big ships, the same dull gray, the same shape as the one in orbit." The room went very still. "How many?" Joss asked. His anger had gone quiet, something else had taken its place. "We do not know yet," the messenger said. "The count keeps rising, 40, then 60. The last message said over 100 and still climbing." He looked up pale. "They are not coming fast. They are not coming as if to attack. They are just coming, crossing the line, taking up places in the dark. As if they are showing us," Myra said softly. The messenger nodded. Velen closed his eyes. So this was the answer to the question they had not dared to ask. The captain had brought one ship to the meeting. One ship to be polite, to talk, to give them a chance to choose well before they saw the rest. And the rest was over 100 and climbing. "She gave us a window," Velen said. "A small mercy. She let us speak with her while there was only one, so that we might choose peace before we saw the fleet and chose it only out of fear. She wanted us to choose freely." He opened his eyes. "And now she shows us the fleet anyway, so that no fool among us," he did not look at Joss, which was the same as looking at him, "can pretend the one ship was alone." Joss said nothing. The fight had gone out of him, drained away by a number, 100 ships, each one able to shrug off the full strength of an outer line, 100 of them sitting in the dark waiting. The Ulu had 10,000 ships, but the Ulu ships were the Council's best, and the Council's best had fired on a single human hull and done nothing at all. 10,000 times, nothing was still nothing. "We open the channel again," Velen said. "We tell the captain we accept her terms, we take her maps, we mark her borders on every chart we hold, and we make sure every captain and every fleet in Council space knows that the space around the human world is not to be touched, not by accident, not by a lost ship, not by a bold young fool looking to make a name, not ever." "And if some fool does touch it anyway?" Myra asked. "Council space is wide. Word travels slow at the edges. There will always be one ship that did not get the message." Velen was quiet for a long moment. "Then I think," he said, "that we had better hope the humans understand the difference between a fool and an enemy, because if they do not, one lost ship could end us all." The inner circle sat with that. It was not a comfortable thought. The peace they were about to make hung on the goodwill of a race they did not understand, and on their own ability to control every captain across 1,000 worlds, which no council had ever truly managed. But the other choice was war, and they had all seen the logs. They returned to the main chamber together. The rings filled again, slower this time, the chamber heavy with the night's news. By now everyone had heard about the fleet at the far line. The faces in the low rings, the young races, were openly afraid. The faces in the high ring were carefully blank, which was its own kind of fear. Velen took his place at the center. He nodded to the officer at the controls. "Open the channel to the human ship." The screen woke. The same gray room, the same small calm captain, as if she had not moved at all in the long hours since. "Speaker Velen," Captain Akafor said, "you have decided." It was not a question. "We have," Velen said. "We accept your terms. We will take your maps. We will mark your borders. We will tell every world we hold that the space around Earth is closed to us now and forever. We have no wish for war, Captain. We never did." Captain Akafor inclined her head. "Thank you, Speaker. You have chosen wisely. I am glad. There has been enough war in the history of my people. We did not come out here to bring more of it to yours." "May I ask you something?" Velen said, "now that we are at peace." "You may ask, I may not answer." "Your ship's at the far line," he said. "Over 100 by our count and rising. Why show them to us now after we had already begun to choose? We had nearly chosen peace with the one ship alone. The fleet was not needed. For the first time, something passed over the captain's face that was not calm. It was there and gone, too fast to name, but Velen's old eyes caught it. "The fleet was not my choice to show," she said. The chamber stirred. "What do you mean?" Velen asked. Captain Akafer was quiet for a moment, as if deciding how much to say. "I told you we mean you no harm today," she said at last. "I meant it. I command this ship and I came to make peace, and I would have made it with you gladly with one ship and no fleet at all." She paused. "But I do not command the fleet. The fleet answers to others, to people back home who do not trust as easily as I do. People who wanted you to see our strength before any deal was struck, so that you would not be tempted later to test it." "You are saying," Myra said slowly, leaning forward in the high ring, "that there is a power behind you, that you are not the highest voice of your people." "I am a captain," Akafer said simply. "I am not a queen. I follow orders the same as you follow your council. The orders were to make peace, but there were others behind the orders watching who wanted peace made from fear and not from trust." Her jaw tightened just slightly. "I would have done it differently, but it was not my choice to make." Velen felt the cold creep back into his chest. He had begun to understand the captain. He had begun to trust the small, calm woman who spoke honestly and asked only for quiet. He had built his hope for peace on her. And now she was telling him that she was not the one who mattered. That behind her stood others, harder than she was, who trusted nothing and ruled by fear, and held the leash of a fleet that could end worlds. "Captain Akafer," he said carefully, "these others, the ones behind you, what do they want from us, truly? You said your people wish only to be left alone. Is that their wish too, or only yours?" The captain looked at him for a long time through the screen. "That," she said, "is the right question, speaker. It is the question I have been asking myself for the whole of this voyage." She did not answer it. She did not have to. Her silence was answer enough, and it sat in the great chamber like a second warship, larger than the first and far more frightening, because no one could see it at all. "I will send the maps," Captain Akafer said, her voice gentle once more. "Mark your borders, keep your ships clear of ours. Hold to your side of the line, and I will do everything in my power to hold mine." She paused. "Everything in my power, speaker. Remember those words. They may matter later." The screen went dark before Velen could ask what she meant. The chamber was silent. They had their peace. It had cost them only their pride, as Velen had said. They should have felt relief. Instead, they felt as if they had taken one step back from a cliff edge, only to look down and see that the ground they stood on was thin ice, and that something very large was moving in the dark water beneath. Velen sat alone at the center of the chamber long after the others had gone. He thought about the captain's last words. "Everything in my power." It was not the promise of someone in control. It was the warning of someone who feared she might lose it. Far above the white moon, the Titan warship held its place, and far beyond it, at the edge of the dark, 100 more turned slowly into position, and somewhere far past all of them, on a world the Council had never seen, the others who held the true power watched and waited and trusted nothing at all. Velen was old. He had served the Council for most of his life. He had thought before this day that he understood the shape of the galaxy and his people's place in it. He understood now that he had understood nothing. The humans had come, and the worst part, the part that kept him in his seat staring at the dark screen long into the unchanging glow of the moon, was the slow-growing certainty that the captain who frightened them so badly might, in the end, turn out to be the gentlest human they would ever meet. The peace held for 2 years. It was a strange peace. The human borders went onto every chart in Council space, a wide circle of dark around a world no Council ship had ever seen. Ships were told to stay clear of it, and they did. Captains who flew the outer routes spoke of the human line in low voices, the way one speaks of a haunted place. Some had seen the gray ship sitting silent at the edge of the dark. None had gone closer to look. Speaker Velen grew older. He thought often about Captain Akefer and her last words, "Everything in my power." He had not heard from her again. The human fleet stayed on its side of the line. The council stayed on its side. For 2 years that was enough. Then a ship was lost. It was a small ship, a SENN survey vessel, old and slow, crewed by 12. Its captain was young. His name was Pell, and he was good at his work but proud of it too, the way young captains often are. He had been charting a dead star at the far edge of council space, near the human line but not across it. The dead star was rich in strange metals, and Pell wanted to be the one who mapped it first. The charts were wrong. It was not Pell's fault, not truly. The maps of the outer dark had always been rough, drawn from old readings, full of small errors no one had ever fixed because no one had ever needed to go that far. The human line had been laid over those old maps, and where the maps were wrong, the line was wrong too. The dead star Pell wanted to chart sat just outside the human border, by the council's maps. By the true position of things, it sat just inside. Pell did not know this. He flew his slow old ship toward the dead star, thinking he was a safe distance from the line, thinking he was clever, thinking of the name he would make. He crossed into human space without ever knowing he had crossed anything at all. The human ships found him within the hour. 3 of them came out of the dark, gray, SCARRED, silent, each one larger than Pell's whole survey vessel by 100 times. They surrounded him. They lit him up with scanners. They opened a channel. Pell, to his credit, did not panic. He answered the channel. He explained in the common tongue that he was a council survey ship, that he was charting the dead star, that he believed he was in open space and meant no harm. He sent his charts to prove it. He showed them the line and where he sat, and how his maps put him safely outside it. The humans listened. They looked at his charts, and then a human voice answered him, and it was not gentle, and it was not Captain OKAFOR. "Your charts are wrong," the voice said. "You are inside our border. You are 40,000 units inside it. You have been inside it for 2 hours. Turn around and leave the way you came. Do not stop. Do not signal anyone but us. Leave now." Pell tried to argue. He was young and proud and frightened, and he made the mistake the frightened and proud often make. He insisted. He sent his charts again. He said the line was here, not there, that the humans must have it wrong, that he had a right to chart open space. "Your charts are wrong," the voice said again, flatter now. "I will not say it a 3rd time. Turn around, leave." And Pell, who should have turned around, did a foolish thing instead. He did not mean it as an attack. He meant it as a survey. But he powered up his scanning array, the deep one, the one that sent out a hard pulse to read the insides of a star or a world or a ship. He aimed it at the nearest human vessel, meaning only to learn what it was made of, to bring home not just the dead star but the first true reading of a human hull. To the humans, a ship inside their border, refusing to leave, powering up an unknown array and aiming it at them, looked like exactly one thing. They fired. It was not a long fight. It was not a fight at all. Pell's ship was gone before he finished his next word. The 12 aboard died in less than a heartbeat. The 3 human ships sat in the dark where the survey vessel had been, and then they turned and went back to their places along the line, silent as before. The news reached the council 4 days later. Velin was very old now and very tired, but he came to the chamber when the message arrived, leaning on the arm of a young aide. The rings filled. The faces were grim. Word of the lost ship had already spread, and with it the old fear, woken now after 2 quiet years. A ship was destroyed, 12 dead by human guns. Jas of the Ulu was there. He had aged too, but his anger had not. He stood before the chamber had even settled. "They have broken the peace," he said. "They have killed our people, a survey ship, unarmed, 12 dead. And you all sat here for 2 years telling me to be patient, to bow my head, to give them their quiet corner of the dark. This is what your peace buys us: dead crew and a silent grave at the edge of nowhere. Sit down, Joss, Velin said. His voice was weaker than it had been 2 years ago, but it still carried. Sit down and listen before you start a war that ends us. Listen to what? To the truth, Velin said, which is harder than your anger and which you will not like. He nodded to the officer at the controls. The charts came up on the great screen, 2 of them side by side. The old council map, with the line and the dead star and Pell's ship sitting safely outside. And beside it, a second map, newer, more exact, built from 2 years of careful work along the border. On the second map, the dead star sat well inside the human line, and Pell's ship sat inside it too, 40,000 units inside. The chamber stared. Our maps were wrong, Velin said. They have always been wrong out at the edge. We laid the human border over old, rough charts and we never fixed them because we never had reason to go that far. Captain Pell trusted those charts. He thought he was in open space. He was not. He had been inside the human border for 2 hours when they found him. Then it was an honest mistake, Joss said, and they killed him for it. 12 dead for a wrong line on an old map. Does that not make it worse? It might, Velin said. Let me finish and then you may judge. He nodded again. The channel logs came up. Pell's last conversation, all of it in the common tongue for the whole chamber to read. They read it in silence. The human warning, the order to leave, Pell's arguing, the second warning, the order again. And then in plain words at the end, the record of what Pell had done. Survey array powering up. Deep pulse armed. Target, nearest human vessel. The chamber understood slowly what they were looking at. He aimed his array at them, Myra of the SENN said quietly. She was old too now, and the quiet in her voice was sorrow, not anger. Inside their border, refusing to leave, after 2 warnings. He powered up an array they did not know and aimed it at one of their ships. To them it looked like a weapon coming online. They did not know it was only a survey pulse. How could they? They had no reason to trust a ship that would not leave their space. He was a fool, Velin said. There was no anger in it, only grief. A young, proud fool, and he is dead for it, and so are 11 others who trusted him. But he was not murdered, Joss. He was killed because he did 3 foolish things in a row inside the borders of a people who told us 2 years ago exactly how they would answer such things. They warned him twice. He did not listen. I have read these logs 10 times looking for the place where the humans did wrong. I cannot find it. By their own rules, the rules we agreed to, they did nothing we did not give them leave to do. Joss was silent. He stared at the logs on the great screen, the 2 warnings, the armed array. He was a warrior and he had commanded ships, and he knew, in the cold part of him that knew such things, what he would have done if a strange vessel sat in his space, would not leave, and powered up an unknown array aimed at his hull. He would have fired too. Then we are to do nothing, he said at last, but the fight had gone soft in him. Again, we are to swallow 12 dead and say it was our own fault and move on. No, Velin said, not nothing. The chamber looked at him. A channel has been opened to us, Velin said. An hour ago, from the human ship in orbit, the same ship that has hung over this moon for 2 years, they wish to speak about the lost vessel. He paused. It is Captain Okafor. A murmur ran through the rings. Open it, Velin said. The screen changed. The gray room. The small captain, 2 years older like the rest of them, a few lines on her brown face that had not been there before, but the same calm, the same steady eyes. Speaker Velin, she said, I am sorry truly for your 12. The honesty of it, the plain sorrow, caught the chamber off guard. They had braced for coldness, for the flat voice that had spoken to Pell at the end. You did not fire the shot, Captain, Velin said. No, she said, I did not, and I would not have. If I had been there, your survey ship would have gone home. Her jaw tightened the way it had 2 years ago, but I was not there. The ships at the line do not answer to me. They answer to the others, the ones I told you about behind me, the ones who trust nothing. She looked at him steadily. I told you, Speaker, that I would hold my side of the line with everything in my power. I meant it, but my power has limits. The line is held by people harder than I am, who follow their orders to the letter, who saw a ship that would not leave and an array coming online, and did exactly what they were trained to do. I cannot undo it. I can only tell you the truth of it, and tell you I am sorry, and tell you it was not meant as a breaking of our peace. Some in this chamber, Velen said carefully, believe it was. Some in this chamber, Akafar said, want it to have been, because anger is simpler than grief, and a war you can blame on the other side is easier than a death you must blame on your own. Her eyes moved across the rings and seemed for a moment to find Joss exactly. I have known soldiers like that, Speaker. My people made many of them. I understand the wish. I am asking you not to follow it. The chamber was very quiet. Your captain made mistakes, Akafar went on, gentler now. I have read the logs too. He was young and frightened and he did not listen. That is a sad thing and a small thing, and it should not become the thing that turns two peoples into enemies. So I have come to you with a request. The same kind I came with 2 years ago. One request plainly made. Name it, Velen said. Fix your maps, she said. All of them. The true border, the real one, sent to every ship and every world and every captain you have. We will send you our exact charts down to the last unit, so there can be no doubt where the line truly lies. And then teach your captains what mine learned long ago, that a border is a border even when you think it is somewhere else. That when a stronger ship tells you to leave its space, you leave, and you argue later from a safe distance, and you never ever power up an array and aim it at them while you sit inside their guns. She paused. Do that and your 12 will be the last. I give you my word, for whatever a captain's word is worth across a line like this. Do that and we keep our peace. And if we do not? Joss asked, but quietly now without heat. Captain Akafar turned her steady eyes to him. Then there will be more lost ships, she said, and each one will make the next war easier to start on both sides, until one day someone with more power than I have decides the peace is not worth keeping. I do not want that day to come. I have spent 2 years on this ship working to keep it from coming, but I am one captain, holding a line I do not own, against the patience of harder people on both sides who would find a war simpler than a peace. She let that settle. Help me keep that day away, Speaker. Fix your maps, teach your captains. It is a small thing to ask and it buys a very large peace. Velen looked at the 2 maps still glowing on the great screen, the wrong one and the true one, 12 dead in the space between them. We will fix the maps, he said, all of them, and we will teach our captains. You have my word, Captain, for whatever a speaker's word is worth. It is worth a great deal, Akafar said softly. Thank you, Speaker. The channel began to close. Then, as she had 2 years before, she stopped it at the last moment. Speaker, she said, one more thing, so you understand what we have, you and I. Yes. The harder people behind me, she said. The ones who hold the line. They wanted to answer your survey ship with a fleet. They wanted to cross your border in return to take a world for the world you lost in our space, to teach the Council a lesson it would not forget. Her face was very still. I stopped them. It took everything I had and every favor I am owed, and it nearly cost me my command. But I stopped them. Your 12 are dead, and that is a grief. But there is a world full of your people still alive tonight, who do not know how close they came to joining them. She paused. I tell you this not to be thanked. I tell you so you understand. The peace between our peoples does not hang on councils or treaties or lines on a map. It hangs right now tonight on one tired captain who believes peace is better than blood, holding back people who do not. Her voice dropped. I will hold them as long as I can, but hold up your end, Speaker. Fix the maps, because I do not know how many more lost ships I can stop a fleet from answering, and I am only one captain. And I will not command this ship forever. The screen went dark. The chamber sat in silence with the weight of it. They had thought 2 years ago that the gentle captain was their good fortune. Now they understood it fully. She was not their good fortune. She was the only thing standing between them and the end. A single woman on a single ship, tired, aging, spending herself to keep a peace that harder hands on both sides would gladly break. And one day she had told them plainly she would not be there. Velen closed his eyes. He gave the orders. The maps would be fixed. Every chart, every world, every captain. It would be done within the month and done right and checked twice. He would spend what remained of his long life making sure of it. Because somewhere out in the dark, a tired captain was holding back a fleet with her bare hands and the strength of a belief, and the least the council could do, the very least, was to make sure they never gave her a reason to let go. Speaker Velen died in the 11th year of the peace. He died old and quiet in his sleep, on the white moon he had served his whole life. The council mourned him for 9 days, as was the custom for a speaker, and then it chose another, and the work went on. The maps had been fixed long ago. The human border was true now on every chart in council space, checked and checked again. No ship had been lost since Pels. The captains who flew the outer routes had learned, the way Captain Akafor asked, to treat the line as real and to leave human space the moment a gray ship told them to. The peace held. For 11 years it held. The new speaker was a Sen named Doru. She had been Myra's student long ago, before Myra too grew old and stepped down. Doru was clever and careful, and she had read every record of the human meetings 100 times. She knew the story of Captain Akafor by heart. She knew, as Velen had known, that the peace did not truly rest on treaties. It rested on one captain. So when the human channel opened in the 11th year, Doru came to the chamber with a tight feeling in her chest. The channel had opened only twice in 11 years. Both times it had been trouble. The rings filled, the great screen woke. And the room that opened on it was not the plain gray room they knew. It was larger, darker, and the face that looked out at them was not Captain Akafor. It was a human, that much was clear. 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head. But this one was pale where Akafor was brown, and older than Akafor had been, with hard lines around a hard mouth and eyes like cold stones. This human did not wear the plain cloth of a captain. This one wore something heavier, darker, marked with signs the council did not know but understood at once to mean power. This was one of the others, the harder people behind the line. They had finally come to the screen themselves. "I am Speaker Doru of the Galactic Council," Doru said, keeping her voice steady. "I do not know you. Where is Captain Akafor?" The hard human looked at her for a long moment. "Captain Akafor is gone," the human said. The voice was flat and cold, the voice Pel had heard at the end, the voice of someone who trusted nothing. "She held her command for 13 years. That is longer than any captain should hold one ship, longer than was wise. She grew too close to you, too soft. She came to believe that the peace was hers to keep, that she alone stood between your people and ours." A thin, cold expression crossed the pale face. She was right about that in the end. Which was exactly the problem. The chamber went cold. "What have you done with her?" Doru asked. "Nothing you need concern yourself with," the human said. "She is relieved of her command. She is going home. Her work here is finished. I command this ship now and the fleet at the line, and I have come to the screen myself because the time for soft captains and gentle words is over." The cold eyes swept the rings. "I am here to tell you how things will be from now on." Doru felt the chamber tense around her. She had read the records. She had known in her mind that this day might come, the day the gentle captain was gone and a harder hand took the leash. But knowing it and seeing it were not the same, and the seeing of it sat in her chest like ice. "Captain Akafor made us a peace," Doru said carefully. 11 years of peace, honest peace. We have kept every word of it. We fixed the maps. We taught our captains. We have not lost a single ship since the first. Whatever quarrel you have with her ways, we have given you no cause to change them." "You have given me no cause," the human agreed. "That is true. You have been very good, very obedient. You have stayed on your side of the line like frightened animals, exactly as Akafor wanted. The cold expression deepened. And that is the trouble, speaker. Akafor wanted you frightened and obedient and left alone. She wanted a peace where we never had to think about you again. She got it. For 13 years she got it. The human leaned closer to the screen. But 13 years is a long time, and the people back home have had time to think. And they have begun to wonder why we should be content with a quiet corner of the dark, when the people across the line are so very obedient, and so very weak, and so very willing to do whatever a stronger ship tells them to do. The meaning of the words spread through the chamber like cold water. You said you wanted only to be left alone, Doru said. Captain Akafor said it. 11 years ago in this chamber, your people came out of the dark and asked for nothing but their own world and their own quiet. We gave it to you, all of it. Akafor said it, the human corrected. Akafor wanted it. Akafor is not here. The pale face was without warmth. I will be honest with you, speaker, because honesty costs me nothing now. When we first found you 11 years ago, there were two voices among my people. One said, "Take only what is ours, leave them in peace. The galaxy is wide and there is room for all." That was Akafor's voice. We let her speak it because she was right that fear makes a cleaner peace than blood, and we wished to learn what you were before we decided what to do with you. The cold eyes glittered. The other voice said something else. It said, "They are weak. They are old and soft and slow. They fired their best guns at our smallest ship and did nothing. A people like that does not keep what they have because they deserve it. They keep it only because no one stronger has come to take it. We have now come, and we are stronger." The human let the words hang. For 13 years, Akafor's voice won. We watched, we waited. We let her keep her gentle peace, and we learned everything there is to know about you. Your worlds, your fleets, your strong places and your weak ones. We know you better now than you know yourselves. The pale face leaned in. And what we have learned, speaker, is that the second voice was right. You are weak. You have spent 11 years proving it. Every map you fixed, every captain you taught to run when we say run, every world you closed to yourselves because we asked, all of it taught us the same thing. You will do whatever the stronger ship tells you to do. So now, the human said softly, the stronger ship is going to start telling you to do more. The chamber erupted. Voices rose in every ring, fear and anger together, a wall of noise. Doru did not raise her hand to stop it. She let it run. She was thinking, fast and cold, of Velen, of Akafor, of 11 years of careful peace now turning to ash on the great screen in front of her. She raised her hand at last. The noise dropped, but not all the way. You speak of strength, Doru said. Her voice shook, but she made it carry. You speak as if strength is the only thing that matters, as if a people who choose peace are only weak people who have not yet been pushed. Captain Akafor did not think so. Captain Akafor held this peace for 13 years not because she was weak, but because she believed peace was worth more than what you could take by breaking it. You call that softness. I think you do not understand it at all. The human almost smiled. You sound like her. Then perhaps, Doru said, she was not as alone as you think. For the first time, something flickered in the cold eyes. It was gone fast. But Doru, watching closely, the way Velen had once watched Akafor, saw it. And she understood something that the hard human had not meant to show her. This human was not as sure as the words pretended. Let me ask you something, Doru said, pressing into the flicker. You say your people had two voices, Akafor's and the harder one. You say the harder one has won. But Akafor held her command for 13 years. 13, you said, longer than was wise. Why? She leaned forward now too. If your people had truly decided we were weak and worth taking, why let her keep the peace so long? Why watch and wait for 13 years? Why send her at all instead of the fleet that very first day? The human did not answer at once. Because, Doru said slowly, answering for them the way Velen had once answered the chamber, you are not sure, you are still not sure. You stand there in your dark room and you tell me we are weak, that you know us better than we know ourselves, that the harder voice has won. But if that were true, you would not be talking to me. You would simply be taking. You came to the screen to tell me how things will be. Captain Akafor came to the screen to ask for peace. The difference is that she knew what she wanted and you do not. The chamber had gone silent again, but it was a different silence now. They were listening. They had heard their new speaker turn the cold human's own words back on her, and they were beginning to hope, faintly, terribly, that she might be right. The human's hard mouth tightened. "You are bold for a frightened animal," the human said, but the cold had a crack in it now, and everyone could hear it. "I am the speaker of the Galactic Council," Doru said. "I sit in a chamber that has stood for 9,000 years. We are older than your whole history, human. We were sailing the dark when your people were still afraid of the night on your own world. You are stronger than us, yes. Your ships are better. Your guns are better. We have known that for 11 years and we have made our peace with it." She rose from her seat slowly, deliberately, an old Sen standing before a hard young power. "But strength is not the only thing that has ever mattered, and a people who have lasted 9,000 years know things that a people who have just come out of the dark have not yet learned. One of those things is this: the ones who take because they can are not remembered kindly, and they do not, in the end, last." "Threats," the human said. "No," Doru said. "History, we have a great deal of it. You are welcome to read ours since you have read everything else." She held the cold eyes through the screen. "You have come to tell us how things will be, so tell us plainly what you mean to do. No more talk of strength and weakness. What do you want?" The human was quiet for a long moment. And in that quiet, Doru understood that she had won something. Not the war, not safety, not even peace, but a moment. A pause, a crack in the cold certainty of a people who had come to take, into which a clever speaker might, with great care, drive a wedge. "I want," the human began. And then the channel made a sound it had never made before. A sharp tone, an interruption, a second signal cutting in over the first. The dark room on the screen flickered. The hard human turned, away from the screen, toward something off to the side, and for the first time the cold face showed something that was unmistakably surprise. "What is this?" the human said, not to Doru, to someone in the dark room. "I gave orders that this channel was not to be." The screen split. A second image appeared beside the first. Another human, brown skin. Older now, lines deeper than Doru had seen in the old records, hair gone gray at the edges, but the eyes were the same, steady, calm, tired but not beaten. "Captain Akafor." "Hello, Speaker Doru," she said. "It has been a long time. I am sorry I do not know you. I knew Velen, is he?" "He died," Doru said. "In the 11th year, quietly. He spoke of you at the end." Something moved across Akafor's tired face. Grief, perhaps, or something gentler than grief. "I am glad he had a quiet death," she said. "He earned one." The hard human had recovered, and the cold was back, and the anger with it. "Akafor, you are relieved. You have no command, no authority, no right to this channel. Whatever you think you are doing." "I am doing," Akafor said, not looking at the other human, keeping her tired eyes on Doru, "the last thing I have the power to do, which is more than you think and less than I would like." She drew a breath. "Speaker, listen to me carefully because I do not have long, and what I am about to tell you changes everything." The chamber held its breath. "There is something about my people," Captain Akafor said, "that I have kept from you for 13 years, something even Velen never knew. I kept it because while there was peace it did not matter, and a secret kept is a secret that cannot be used against you." Her jaw set. "But the peace is ending. This one." She did not look at the hard human, but everyone knew whom she meant, means to end it. And so the time for keeping it is over. You need to know the truth about what is really out here in the dark with you. All of it. The hard human's face had gone very still. "OKAFOR," the cold voice said, and for the first time it was not cold at all, it was afraid. "Do not." Captain OKAFOR finally turned and looked at the other human, the harder one, the one who had taken her command and her ship and her peace. "You should not have sent me home the long way," she said quietly. "It gave me time to think, and to decide, and to make a few calls of my own to a few old friends before you cut my command." She turned back to the screen, to DORU, to the 9,000-year-old chamber full of frightened, listening faces. "Speaker DORU," she said, "what I am about to tell you, your council has waited 11 years to hear without knowing it was waiting, so listen well." The channel held, the chamber held, the whole galaxy seemed to hold. And the screen, at the worst possible moment, went black. The chamber stared at the black screen. For a long, terrible moment no one moved. Then the noise came all at once, 1,000 voices asking what had happened, demanding the channel back, shouting names and orders. DORU stood frozen at the center, her hand still half raised, the last words of Captain OKAFOR hanging in the air like smoke. "Listen well." And then nothing. "Get it back," DORU said, her voice cut through the noise. "Get the channel back now." The officers worked. The screen flickered dark, then woke. But it was not the dark room. It was not the hard human, or OKAFOR. It was a new image, and the chamber fell silent as it understood what it was looking at. It was the human warship, the Titan that had hung over their moon for 13 years, but it was not still anymore. It was moving, turning, and along its great gray flank, the rows of dark openings that everyone had always known were guns were coming alive, one after another, lighting from within with a deep and terrible glow. The ship was arming. "They are firing on us," someone cried from the low rings. "It begins. The peace is over, they are." "No," DORU said. She did not know how she knew, but she watched the great ship turn and she saw that its guns were not turning toward the white moon. They were turning away from it, outward, toward the dark, toward the far line where the fleet sat waiting. "It is not aimed at us," DORU breathed. The screen split again, and Captain OKAFOR was back, and behind her now were not the gray walls of a quiet room but the lights and noise of a ship at battle stations, alarms sounding, voices calling in the human tongue. "Speaker," OKAFOR said, fast now, no calm left in her, only urgency. "I have very little time, so I will say it plainly, all of it, the way I should have said it years ago. Listen and do not interrupt because I will only say it once." The chamber did not breathe. "My people are not one people," OKAFOR said. "We never were. You met me 11 years ago and you thought you had met humanity. You had not. You met one ship and one captain and behind her one fleet and behind that one power among many on a divided world. There has never been a single human voice. There has only ever been many fighting each other, the way we have always fought each other, the whole of our history on our world and now off it." She drew a breath. "The one who took my command, the cold one you just spoke to, speaks for a faction back home that has grown strong these 11 years. A faction that looked at you, watched you obey, watched you fix your maps and run from our ships and decided you were weak and worth taking. They have spent these years building toward this, toward ending the peace and taking your worlds one by one because they believe you will not, cannot fight back." Her tired eyes burned. "They are not wrong that you cannot beat us in battle. You cannot. I told VELIN that 11 years ago and it is still true, but they are wrong about everything else. They are wrong that all humans want this, and they are very, very wrong that they will face no resistance." The great ship on the screen finished its turn. Its guns glowed full now, 100 points of terrible light along its flank, all aimed outward into the dark, toward the line. "This ship is mine," OKAFOR said. "It was always mine. They relieved me of command, but a command is only words, and a crew is loyal to the captain who kept them alive and fed and homebound for 13 years, not to a cold voice on a screen who arrived last week. When they tried to take my ship, my crew gave it back to me. We have spent the last hour taking it back, room by room. It is mine again now, and I am about to do the one thing that can still stop a war." "What thing?" DORU asked. "Captain, what are you?" "There is a faction back home that does not want this war," OKAFOR said. "It is large, larger than the cold ones think. It is people like me, people who came out into the dark and found it full of life 9,000 years old and decided that was a wonder to be protected and not a weakness to be eaten. We have been quiet because the war faction held the fleets and the guns, but quiet is not the same as gone, and we have been waiting all these years for a moment, for a spark, for one clear act that would force every human to choose a side in the open, where they could no longer pretend the choice was not being made. She looked into the screen, into the 9,000-year-old chamber, into the eyes of a frightened, listening council. "I'm about to give them that spark," she said. "I'm going to fire this ship's guns, not at you, at the fleet at the line, at the war faction's own ships. One human ship firing on another in full view of the whole human network with the reason broadcast on every channel for every human to hear. They were going to break the peace. They were going to take worlds that asked only to be left alone. I would not let them choose." Her voice did not shake. "I cannot win that fight, Speaker. One ship against 100. I know exactly how it ends for me. But that is not the point. The point is that I cannot stay silent and let them tell my whole people that the Council was an enemy that had to be destroyed. If they are going to do this, then every human alive is going to see clearly that it was a choice made by some of us and fought against by others. I am going to make them choose in the light." The hard human's voice cut back in on a third channel, and now there was no coldness left in it at all, only fury and something close to panic. "OKAFOR, you are insane. You will start a civil war. You will burn everything we have built, for them, for aliens, for weak old creatures who ran from us for 13 years. "Yes," OKAFOR said simply, "for them, because they were never the enemy and you knew it and you wanted the war anyway. I am tired and I am old and I have held this peace alone for 13 years, and I have decided I would rather end as the human who fired the first shot to save it than as the captain who stayed quiet while you ended it." She turned from the cold voice for the last time. "Goodbye. I hope you live long enough to understand what you almost did." She faced the screen. "Speaker DORU, I cannot tell you how this ends. The war faction may win. If they do, this was for nothing and I am sorry and you should run and hide and pray. But I do not think they will win. I think there are more of us than them. I think most humans, shown the choice plainly, will not choose to eat a peaceful people for no reason but that they could. I have to believe that. I have spent my whole life believing it. We are not only the thing the cold ones think we are the other thing too. We always have been both at once. That is what it means to be human." Her tired face softened one last time. "Tell VELIN quotes people I am sorry I could not keep it gentle. I tried. For 13 years I tried." Captain DORU began. "Hold your world, Speaker," OKAFOR said. "Whatever happens out here, hold them. And if my side wins," a ghost of a smile, "if my side wins, then one day a human ship will come back to this moon, not a warship, a small one, and it will ask not for your obedience and not to be left alone, but for something we never asked you for in all these years because we were too proud and too afraid." "What?" DORU whispered. "Friendship," Captain OKAFOR said. "Just that. From the start, it was the only thing worth crossing the dark for. We were just too much like our worst selves to ask." She straightened in her chair. Behind her, the alarms rose to a scream. On the screen, the great ship's guns burned at full and terrible brightness, aimed into the dark, toward the line, toward 100 waiting ships and the fury of her own divided people. "Fire," Captain OKAFOR said to her crew, to the dark, to history. The screen went white. The Council did not know, for a long time, what had happened out at the line. The channels went dark. The great ship vanished from the scanners above their moon, gone into the deep with all its guns blazing. For days there was nothing but silence and fear, and the chamber filled and emptied and filled again, and Doru did not leave her seat and slept when she slept at all in it. They did not see the battle. They only saw, on the far scanners, the flashes at the edge of the dark, light blooming silent and terrible where the human ships tore at one another. They saw it go on for 3 days. They counted the flashes and could not tell from so far which side was winning, only that there were a great many of them, and then fewer, and then very few, and then none at all. And then the dark was quiet. For 9 more days the dark stayed quiet. The council waited. There was nothing else to do. They could not run, not all of them, not 9,000 years of worlds. They could only hold, as a tired captain had told them to, and wait and hope. On the 10th day, a ship crossed the line. The scanners caught it and the chamber held its breath, and Doru came to her seat one more time, old now herself, worn down by 10 days of waiting, and watched the screen as the ship drew near. It was small. It was not gray, and it was not scarred, and it was not built like a weapon. It was a small ship, and it carried no guns that anyone could see, and it came toward the white moon slowly, openly, with no fear and no threat, the way a guest comes to a door. A channel opened. The face on the screen was human, young, brown-skinned like Akafor had been, with the same steady eyes, though Doru did not know if that meant anything or nothing. "Speaker of the Galactic Council," the young human said. "My name is Daniel Akafor. I have come a long way, and I have a message I was asked to carry by someone who could not carry it herself." Doru's old heart turned over in her chest. "Captain Akafor," she said. "Sarah Akafor is she." "She was my grandmother," the young human said gently. "She did not survive the line. Her ship did not survive, but what she did there," he paused and gathered himself. "What she did there forced every human alive to look at what we were about to do and to choose in the open whether that was who we wanted to be. And we chose, Speaker. It took 3 terrible days and it cost us more than I can say, and it is not a thing we will ever fully heal from, but we chose." His steady eyes met hers. "We chose her side. The peace faction holds the fleets now. The war faction is broken. It is over." The chamber, which had held so many silences in its 9,000 years, held one more. But this silence was not fear. It was something the old chamber had not felt in a very long time, something close to wonder, close to grief, close to hope, all at once. "She asked me to tell you something," Daniel Akafor said. "If this day ever came, she wrote it down before the line. She made me memorize it." He took a breath, and when he spoke again the words had the shape of someone else's voice, an older voice, a tired and gentle one. "Tell them I was sorry I came as a warship. Tell them it was the only way they would have listened and that I have regretted it every day since. And tell them," his voice caught, "tell them that the small ship has finally come. And it is asking at last, the only thing worth crossing the dark for." The young human looked at the old speaker through the screen. Across all the years and all the dead, and all the long cold dark between two peoples who had met as enemies and might, somehow, end as something else. "On behalf of all of humanity," Daniel Akafor said, "what's left of us, the better part of us, the part she died to save." He inclined his head the way his grandmother once had in this same chamber 11 long years and a lifetime ago. "We would like to be your friends." And in the great white chamber that had stood for 9,000 years, that had met every wonder and every terror the galaxy had to offer and thought before the humans came, that it had seen them all, Speaker Doru of the Galactic Council wept, and did not hide it, and answered. "Yes," she said. "Sweet stars, yes, come in. You have come such a long way. Come in and be welcome, and let us begin." Far above the white moon the small ship waited, gentle in the dark. And for the first time in the long history of the council, the silence that filled the chamber was not the silence of fear. It was the silence that comes just before a door opens. And then it opened.